Hey there, welcome back to another fresh episode on Karishma Connect. Connect with a K, where we talk to different people from different walks of life, completely heart to heart. And I'm so happy because on my last edit, I realized that we were about 32 episodes strong. Little did I know when I started that this would be the journey. Thanks to you all for all of that. And thanks to Sharon Fernandez for bringing this new person on my podcast, Priyanka Sarkar from the House of Biori. Why Biori? She tells you in the interview. Why you must choose sustainable, ethically sourced jewelry, and how that is a thing in the books and we aren't very aware about it, but how we can be more aware about it and support such brands, and how we can build a brand, and how a successful journey requires you to kind of know what you don't know. Wondering what I'm talking about? Stay tuned for the interview. Until next time, Karishma Connect. See you soon.
I'm really looking forward to getting to know more about House of Biori. I'll tell you, I've heard about it several years ago with one of my friends. I think I vaguely remember her modeling for it or something, and I've heard about it. And back then to now, when Sharon contacted me, I said, wow, that's been a journey. But that's exactly my first question, and I'll dive right in. Tell me about your journey so far.
See, I think, Karishma, the journey, I would say, has been a continuous cycle of self-discovery, rather, I would say rediscovery. The journey has been absolutely amazing. I mean, I have been able to decipher, learn, unlearn, relearn, think every day. And the best part with Biori is that there is no same day, next day. Every day is a new day. Every day is a new chapter unfolding. And I think that's amazing. And I think most importantly, over the years, with especially with Biori and with experiences around Biori, the thing that I have learned to make peace with is the art of knowing what I don't know, and then using that, to everybody's advantage.
That's
So yeah, I mean, it's been an amazing ride.
Can you explain that a little bit when you say knowing what I don't know?
See, I mean, the whole thing of Biori germinating was a thought that was seeded in the system for a very long time. I think it was a part of my design years while studying design in the college. And I come from a lineage of art historians, restoration artists, and product designers. So the whole interface with sustainability and artisanal-led craftsmanship has been there from the childhood. So, and I always had a choice of getting on to starting my own footprint right after the college. And I chose not to do that because I wanted to learn the trade. I wanted to understand every facets of the trade, because when you wear that entrepreneurial hat, whether you like it or you don't like it, you really need to multitask in various avenues, at least for the initial few years. And I'm one person, I hate to depend on somebody else for my deliverable. Because for me, I'm a very accountability pro person. So it was very important that I know every angle of the business. And that way, I think God has been very kind that before starting Biori, I was able to give 16 exhaustive years into the corporate side of design, buying, and retail. Traveling the world, traveling to every possible place in the world that thrives on fashion. So that way, your procurement understanding, your supply chain network, your understanding on product, your understanding on customer sentiments, your understanding of the importance of data, and how analytically you can use that data and forecasting into your decision making process. All of this came in as a very intrinsic package. So when the time came to start on my own, if I didn't know what I'm supposed to be doing, I at least knew what I am not supposed to be doing.
That's interesting. Yes.
And with that, started off.
I get it. And now I understand it better. And I think I completely agree. I always thought this myself. I felt like you have to go across the board to kind of come and understand this is the board I'm on, Then
That's very important.
Yeah. So completely agree and resonate with that. Tell me, what was the need that kind of factored into you starting up House of Biori? We have a lot of fashion brands and a lot of artisan brands, but what was your need factor there?
I think after being in the corporate side of design and retail, as I shared earlier, for the last 16 years, working and delivering across segments, there was a very strong urge to go back to roots, to go back to, and I think that inner soundboard was really hounding. And yeah, there was a rude awakening, I would say, on the 16th year, which is where I realized that I missed out on seeing my child grow for a few years because I was so engrossed in what I was doing. And I said, I need to draw a line. I need to understand how do you do a work-life balance. And not saying that it was not there at that point of time, but I wanted to keep it more fluid. I wanted to keep it a little more covalent. And hence thought that, I need to get back to my roots with my maternal roots very strongly instilled in my creative space. I was like, let's start with Biori, basing it on the core values that I grew up with, which is all about being resilient, all about being resolving, all about being imaginative, and having that appetite to return, having that appetite to reform. So hence House of Biori was a very natural progression. And Biori means be original, where BI is the phonetic of BE.
Wow. Okay.
So,
That's, and then how did you choose the market? So coming to the practical side, what made you choose a particular market for it? What made
I think we are very fortunate that we are in a place where the population, especially in UAE, is ever transient. It's very agile. It's very inclusive. We have more than 200 nationalities. So I think from that aspect, it worked as a perfect pitch platform to take on a sustainable brand. And it came at a time, the brand is 4 years old, Karishma. So it came at a time when sustainability was at a very picking up stage, even as one of the strong pointers for the country. There was a lot of focus on bringing forward people and ideas and initiatives revolving around sustainability. So it kind of fitted the bracket very beautifully.
As an artisan-led brand, and especially because of the history that you've had with artisans, tell me something that people don't know about the process that people need to be aware of.
Responsible business practices begins right at the design phase, with the materials that we choose to work with the metal that we work with, the kind of mining process that we are adhering to in terms of sourcing that metal. So there's a lot of ethical sourcing that happens on that front, to how we craft the product, how we distribute the product, how we sell the product, and how at the end of the day we are communicating that product. So that whole aspect of a very thought through, creative, sustainable process starts right from the inception. And every design that one sees in Biori has a story inked to its material, to its metal, to its origin, which is fascinating. Because to be able to design and create jewelry with natural, eco-friendly, sustainable materials without any alterations to their shape, texture, color, it gives the most incredible fulfillment, I would say, and it gives a very definitive purpose to what you're doing and why you are doing.
When you're trying to keep all of this on your shoulders, it's very different from operating like the other brands. So what are the kind of challenges and how do you deal with it on a personal level?
Having that constant thinking in your head that you are developing a brand and you're not developing a business, because your approach to developing a brand versus approach to developing a business are two very different things. And the initial few years, you cannot have the ball rolling in equal quantum on both the areas. You will have to take that call. And at our end, it is a very conscious call that we are building in a brand, that to a sustainable brand, that to a sustainable jewelry brand. Now, the battle is that when it comes to a sustainable product offering, people, even now, they, I think, have a larger appetite towards sustainable clothing and not so much towards sustainable jewelry. The understanding on jewelry is either it is imitation or it is fine jewelry. Whereas in technical nomenclature, there is fine jewelry, there is imitation jewelry, and there is sustainable jewelry. So getting that difference out, that how different is sustainable jewelry between an imitation and a fine jewelry, and what is the need of creating this particular segment to thrive in the market, I think that is a constant struggle. And that is something that we are dealing with at a day in, day out level. I mean, for a layman to understand the difference between an imitation and a sustainable is that imitation is all about cheap and cheerful metal, cheap and cheerful bling, and you buy it today, it wears off after 3 months, and it doesn't pinch your pocket and you're out with it. Whereas a sustainable jewelry is something where you, from starting, you work with, say, the cold metals, either it could be the silver or it could be the brass. You work with semi-precious natural stones. You don't chip, chop, alter the color, texture of the stones. Now, if you think of it from a pure customer point of view, these sort of things you will not want to wear on a gold, because no point wearing an amethyst or a topaz in gold unless and until it's a birthstone phenomena that you're wanting to take forward. So
True.
it makes perfect sense to do those things in a sustainable format using the right kind of metal. That's where this jewelry plays a very important segment. And this is not a knowledge that is commonly available.
Exactly.
You
That's
know,
what
but
that this is in the books. That means that sustainable jewelry is a form of jewelry that exists when you study about jewelry and all of that.
correct, correct. So that is a struggle as an entrepreneur, as a design person, that, whenever a collection goes out or comes out, we tend to do a lot of communication in terms of why we did what we did, how we did what we did, and what, so that at least in our own little ways, in our own baby steps, that awareness is going from one to the other.
Having been behind a jewelry brand and having specialized in the field as well, how do you think sourcing, or how do you think the business has kind of evolved over the years?
That's a very interesting question, and I'm glad you're bringing it at a time when the average consumer is really changing. See, while the average shopper may not be aware of all the details behind the product or the mindsets, but I would say definitely the mindsets are beginning to shift,
Mhm.
because on one hand, people want a good deal on their investment. They want to make it in terms of design, quality, look, feel. On the other hand, they also want to have an assurance that the same is not being done at the cost of trashing the environment or affecting someone's life or someone's well-being.
Yeah.
Be it in fine jewelry or fashion, shoppers have become more discerning, appreciating design, appreciating craftsmanship, and the uniqueness, rather than something which is very ostentatious display of
Yeah.
demonstrate status, which I think is a great shift in mind. And to me, as long as the consumers continue to ask, the responsible jewelry options will continue to grow. Traditionally, most jewelry pieces have been made either using high quality metals, or they have been made, with inexpensive materials, such as the non-precious ones. The lines, I would say, gradually are becoming blurred, with more jewelry combining semi-precious stones and pearls and gems with natural metals. And with the rise of a larger middle class, I think the demand of this type of jewelry is only going to grow further as we move.
So you think the larger middle class is the kind of the audience that is.
It's the kind of audience who are, I would say, they form the larger base, because they understand the value, they understand the whole thing of giving back. Not saying that the elite are not, but the elite, I think they're still kind of contemplating of whether to demonstrate status by wearing something which is more authentic bling, or should they be focusing on something which is crafted with love.
And tell me three things you think one must know. Three things before they kind of buy something artisan led or sustainable jewelry.
For starters, learn about the brand. It's very
Mm.
important to ask the right questions. You will notice how good you feel about your purchase when you actually know that something ecological, something ethical has been done with that product, behind that product. You have a like an instant satisfaction meter that comes in. Second is, please get rid of your 1 year wonders and that habit of just constant shopping, I think, which is something that most of the women we suffer.
Yeah.
Please buy less,
Yeah.
as this is a buy less, but buy good quality. Good quality, well-made jewelry, which is crafted with love. Pay attention to the material. Please pay attention to packaging and the overall customer experience, which is very important. The three tips that I would like to probably give to a growing, to the growing audience is that, apart from asking the right questions and knowing the material, it is always important to ask for wash care, because ask for care, because when you ask the questions on care, it will automatically lead you to the origin of the material, which will also further authenticate the source for you to know what the piece is all about.
Say for somebody like me, when do you think is the right time to kind of make that shift?
Honestly, you are never prepared.
Yeah.
You will never feel that you're prepared to take that plunge. But the point is, you have to take that plunge, and there's never the right time. Trust me, even if you take the plunge after 20 years of working, it may not be the right time. You just have to follow your gut, take the plunge, and give it your best shot, and leave it at that. At least inside you, you will not have that feel that shit, I didn't give it a shot.
And more power to you for doing that. I think it's been
Thank you so much.
Most power
It
to you.
was amazing being on your platform.
Absolutely.
Sharon has been dreaming about your platform, so yeah, thanks to her that she introduced us.
Thank you. Thank you for making time. It's been a pleasure to have you on board, and even just, even
Likewise.
on a personal note, to just get to know your journey. Thank you so much for all of that.
Thank you.